All right, good morning. It is Wednesday, May
Hump Day.
7th. Yeah, it's hump day for all the camels out there. Wednesday, May 7th, 2025. Again, my dad's generation, they want to know the date and the time, like the morning news. Brenden Martin, executive producer in Ocala, Rob Browne in Memphis. Got a lot to cover today in a full 60 minutes. We got Tony Barnhart, Mr. College Football, coming on with us, batting in the leadoff spot, followed up by Dudley Dawson, Hogville.net up in Fayetteville, Vince Ferrara on the Hill in Knoxville. Some good housekeeping. Take a picture of the QR code. We are simulcasting on 7 different channels live. We are on X, Twitter. We are on YouTube and Facebook, and we're building a channel. Brenden will tell you about it in a sec. Great channel right here. You got content, live content, updated every day. It is constant. We love it. And we really encourage you, type in your questions and comments during the show. We'll do our best to address them, answer them, whatever. I get a lot of text.
Rob's friends. That's you. Rob's friends.
And y'all watch. But
get in the chat room and send your text that you send to Rob in the chat room. Let's light it up. Come on.
Don't be bashful, man.
We want it. We want to hear from you. We love you.
Yeah, we love it. Like people like Kerry Jones and Blind Squirrel Sports and Dr. David Arnoff in the Panhandle. We love it. So
join the program.
Yeah, join the program. Get interactive. So let's go ahead and get started, man, with the first batter up, Tony Barnhart and Mr. College Football. Tony, always love it when you are on here because you've got so much that you bring to the table because you're out there on the road, you travel. You're what journalism is all about. And you're wearing a Masters quarter zip. Gotta love that. That is good looking. We were talking before the show started about there's a lot of stuff going on besides football and depth charts. But, what are you hearing in the positive side? Because, I'm an optimist. I always look for the positives because, there's really no alternative. We love college football. And you talked at length about once the games start, it doesn't matter. And you, I would imagine, still feel that way.
Yes, absolutely. And good morning, guys. I told somebody earlier that, college football is so good. It is so strong that even we adults can't mess it up. As much as we try to mess it up, the game is too good. Now, are we going through a transition period now? Sure. We've got to get from one financial model, the old financial model, to the one, whatever the future is going to be. And we're going to get there, but it's just going to take some time. And we're going, and the courts are now involved. We got to get those things. So there's a lot of steps we got to get to. We can't snap our fingers unless we could snap our fingers and make Nick Saban the commissioner. But other than that, I don't know what of an answer. But we're going to be fine. The game is going to be fine, but we are going through a transition right now.
And you talk about the financial model, and I can tell you, financial services industry, 31 years ago, they went from settlement date of 5 days after the trade to 3 days. People thought the world would stop spinning. Now it's T+1. It's been the greatest asset gathering tool in the history of financial services. We're going to figure this out. And you know what? Think about 1984, Georgia and Oklahoma, Chuck Knight. CFA. Kind of shed some light on that as you remember it as a writer.
Well, I was close to it. Georgia was a co-defendant in that Supreme Court case with Oklahoma, and they were asking for a very unique thing. They believed, Oklahoma and Georgia believed, and the plaintiffs believed that the schools, not the NCAA, owned their television rights. And they went to court. It went all the way to Supreme Court, and Oklahoma and Georgia prevailed. And they said, you start putting on 2 or 3 games. It used to be maybe 1 or 2 games a Saturday. So you start putting 3 or 4, it's going to destroy college football. There's going to be too much football on TV. People won't go to the games, on and on and on. Well, the game has exploded. It's more popular than it's ever been. And so we will get through this. There's just some steps, a bunch of steps we got to take to get it resolved.
And I remember it being in college in 1984. Chuck Ninus, the CFA, all that going on. And then I go back to Dad is watching. He's 96. And he told me yesterday, he said, boy, in the 1950s, when they put college football on TV, people said, they won't go to the games. You watch it on TV. How'd that happen? How'd that work out? I mean,
It worked out. And the college football attendance is stronger than it's ever been because there's nothing like being in the stadium, and people realize that's a unique experience, and the challenge is to make it unique as possible. And so, again, well, we're going to pay the players. The players are going to make a lot of money. That's just going to destroy college football. There's no, it's not. It just means college football is moving from one financial model where the players got relatively little to one where they are able to tap in to their marketplace value. It's going to be a market-based economy.
And I mean, you think about your book, The 19 of Green. Ask anybody when we integrated college football in the late 60s and early 70s. Oh, that'll ruin it. It's the best thing. As Pat Dye said, January 2nd, 1984, or January 1st, at the dinner with Bo Schembechler at Galatoire's when they had the coaches or the celebrity chefs. He said, I was raised in South Georgia. I worked side by side, black folks, white folks. We didn't know the difference. He said, ain't nothing ever been done by the federal government to pull people together. Nothing like college football. It's the greatest thing we've ever done, and it just keeps getting better. I think the greatest thing you've said makes the most sense of anything I think I've heard in a long time. We're just going from one financial model to the other.
Right. Absolutely. And one where the players get to fully participate, which they did. Okay. Yeah. And so, and we're going to get to that point. We're going to figure it out. And look, guys,
love you.
There is so much money out there. When they do some of the new contracts, it's going to blow you away. So there's enough money out there. The question is, can you get everything organized so everybody's rights are taken care of? Okay. Not just the schools, not just the players, everybody. And we're going through that transition right now.
Yeah. And as much as I gripe about NIL, it's only my deal is, because if I've got 4 kids, they're past that age, they didn't play college sports, but I would just prefer they put most of the money in an age-banded trust so it's there later in their life when they're 25, 30, and 35, and incentive-based to where they maintain a solid GPA, 2.5 to 2.75. Mm-hmm. And, when they get a job, they get X number of dollars from that trust. If they don't get a job, the trust doesn't turn on. That's what wealthy people do to manage their kids. But I think too, Tony, what I'm seeing is Georgia's not losing people that they want to keep really. Carson Beck left, but but Kirby's keeping the guys he wants. Hugh Freeze, he's really not losing people. I think we're reverting back to the cultures at these different. Look at Dabo. Have you had a chance to sit down with any of the aforementioned 3 coaches? I hope I used that in the proper context.
I hope to get there certainly this summer to see them. Yeah. And look, if the coaches are going to be honest with you, they're going to tell you that the transfer portal has worked both ways. It has worked well for the players. It's worked well for the schools. It's just when a high-profile player leaves and goes to another school, this is the worst thing in the world. No, it's going to turn out fine. So it's going to be. Well, we're in about 3 weeks. We're in Destin for the SEC spring meetings. Exactly. That will absolutely be a hot topic there, where we are right now. And right now, the thing where we are right now, guys, is there's not really much you can say because until Judge Wilkin makes her final decision, we don't know where to go. We don't know what's next until that. And hopefully by the time we get to Destin, that part of it will be resolved.
One of the good things is that with the $21.5 million, you're going to have to tack on to whatever else expenses you have. You're not going to see the revolving door with coaches. And that's what allowed Frank Beamer to build what he built at Virginia Tech. And that's what allowed Dean Smith to build what he built at North Carolina. That's what allowed Coach K to build what he built at Duke. They gave him time.
Mm-hmm. No, that's absolutely true. They did give him time. And look, people understand you can't remake your roster every year. I mean, Lane Kiffin's done a good job with it, but I don't think you can make a living year in, year out doing that. And I think as time goes on, the coaches will continue to adapt. It's going to be fine. It's going to be fine.
And you think about growing up in this business, and Brenden knows this, and his dad, Buddy Martin. a coach would go down. I mean, how many times did I hear on the radio in Memphis, George Lapidus talk about, I got up Saturday morning about 6 and I drove down to Tuscaloosa 3.5 hours and went to Coach Bryant's office and sat there for half a day and went and had barbecue at Archibald's. That is so powerful. And then they come back and they write a column. You write a column. Furman Bisher. I still, as a student at Auburn, will never forget one Sunday afternoon, Furman Bisher's in there in a blue V-neck sweater talking to David Housel about the preseason SEC teams. And that was so cool to hear him. And Furman Bisher just would sit. That, him. I mean, I know you, the coat and tie, you and Scott Rabelais and so many others. That was so cool to get to see that interaction. We need more of that.
Yeah, I'll tell you an interesting story. I occasionally talk to journalism schools around the SEC.
Good.
And I was speaking at a group at South Carolina, and this is several years ago. And Q&A, and the students said, well, what do you do during the spring? I said, well, during the spring, because this is what I was doing then. I travel around the South and sit down and talk to coaches and players. There's no pressure. There are no games. There's nothing going on. And they go, well, why do you do that? I said, to build relationships. And Rob, I'm telling you, those students looked at me like, what in the world are you talking about? I mean, relationships, what does that mean? And I explained to them. I said, let me explain it to you in very simple terms. You build relationships with coaches and other administrators and players so that when you call them, they will call you back. Okay. Because they've developed a sense of trust in what you do. And that's, to me, this has been a relationship business. You know this because your business, no matter what business you're in, if you're in the aluminum siding business, if you're in the college football business, you're in the people business. And that's just I think, of course, I'm an old guy now. I just think that's still a very important part of what we do.
It is. And Philip Marshall wrote a great column on AU Undercover Monday about what's at stake right now in college sports. And Philip is like y'all are just part of this greatest generation of sports writers. I mean, it's just a treasure every time you're on. Philip talked about how it used to be. He said, I remember being at practice one time with my dad, Benny Marshall, great sports writer of the Birmingham News. And he said, we were out there at practice, and he said, there wasn't security and stuff everywhere. He goes, Coach Jordan came over and said, boys, y'all watch out. If any big guys come running towards you, run away the other direction. And just came over and put his arm around him. And he said, we were at one time, my dad was in a press conference at Alabama. Coach Bryant interrupted the press conference and said, y'all hold on a second. I got to go outside. Went outside and threw the football with us for a couple of minutes. Took the time to do that. I remember my friends Clay Templeton and Rob Ruffin, when Alabama was in Memphis in 1976 for the Liberty Bowl over on Grandview, they would practice by the University of Memphis. They snuck out on the practice field and were standing among all the players. Security guard runs over there and grabs them. True story. Coach Bryant's up in the tower. They took a tower up there for him, yelled in the bullhorn going, hold on a second, came down, went over there, put his arms around him, gave him a hug, took pictures and signed autographs, and gave him field passes to the Liberty Bowl.
There you go.
There you go. That's relationships. It's everything. Right. I mean,
well, you gotta. I tell young writers, you gotta have something invested in the bank of credibility. You haven't put anything in the bank. You haven't done anything to earn the trust of coaches and players and administrators. Then when it's crunch time and you need to talk to somebody about something important, you haven't invested in those relationships.
Yeah. Well, and I would hope that you do go and talk to more journalism classes. I mean, you've announced that this will be, I didn't want to say it, your last year. You're still going to be covering college football and playing a big role. What have you thought about being on college football council leadership thing? Because you get what makes the fans love the game, and we can never lose you. Never, ever afford to not have Tony Barnhart from Union Point, Georgia.
Well, I appreciate that. I pretty much know what this season is going to be like. I'm going to make I'm going to make a tour of the all SEC campuses if I can get to all of them.
Yeah.
And basically, I'm going to write essays. I've got a special memory. Well, I'll give you an example. I've got a special memory at Tennessee. You remember the great defensive end Will Overstreet at Tennessee.
Jackson Prep, Mississippi.
On 9/11, I was in my car going to Knoxville. It was Florida-Tennessee week. I was working for College Game Day. And I was in my car when the plane hit the first tower. Then I thought it, like everybody else, I thought it was an accident. Then the plane hit the second tower, and we knew it was a terrorist attack. I get to Knoxville. They've made some decisions that the players are going to practice just to keep their minds off of it, and then they would do media interviews. In walks, to me, I'm shooting video footage for College Game Day. In walks Will Overstreet in his practice gear. He's got a cell phone in his left hand. And I said, Will, what's going on, man? He said, my sister is in Washington, D.C., and I can't find her. And so I said, well, we don't have to do this interview. And I said, no, I want to do it. And he said, okay. I said, but if that phone rings while we're talking, no questions asked, you get up and walk away and take the call. And his sister Leah never called. He did get a hold of her later on in the day. I found out, but the memory of Will Overstreet sitting there, a worried brother with a cell phone in his hand, waiting for it to ring. And here we are talking about Florida, Tennessee. Those are the kind of memories that I have and the ones I want to put into this book. So,
well, it will be a great book because when you think about what you've grown up with, and Brenden and all of us, Keith Jackson, Frank Broyles doing college football, and then what are we going to do when they left? Well, you keep building. Vern Lundquist. I mean, when my kids come up to me and say, Dad, my memories of childhood are either being at Auburn, on the road to watch Auburn play, or being at the house with Grandbob, that's what they call my dad, watching Vern Lundquist. He's just that voice, Yep. It's like a intellectual massage when he's talking about college football. And now you got Brad Nessler and Gary Danielson doing Big Ten football. I mean, that's like judging the Miss America, Miss Universe pageant, and then, the Miss Siberia pageant. I mean, I can't imagine what that's like. So you're going to hit all the campuses, but will you go to Dabo and talk? Have you had a chance to sit down and talk to him? Ellis Johnson comes on the show every Monday with us, and his son's a preferred walk-on over there. They're looking to be pretty strong this year. And I asked this to Dennis Dodd Friday. Is there a little Clemson fan in all of us because of the way they're trying to do it? Guys have always transferred, but they're really trying to stick to, as Ivan Mizell says, the love of the laundry, the tiger paw, which I'm of that school.
Yeah, I do hope to get by to see Dabo. I'm in the process of getting this whole thing organized right now. But I've known Dabo since he was a wide receiver, and David Palmer was on the other side of the line, and all the defense was over there, and Dabo was over here, and nobody was covering him. Of course, so I've known Dabo a long, long time, and that will be an interesting conversation.
Yeah, it would. Hey, Buddy Martin just popped in here right now. Hey, Buddy.
Hello. I heard Mr. College.
I know him.
Yeah. I heard Mr. College Football was on the air. I just want to jump on for a minute and say, first of all, happy for you. You announced, as you said earlier, I know you talked about it, making your victory tour or your lap, or whatever you want to call it. I want you to know we're going to have a place reserved for you in Gainesville at the head ball coach's place. I talked to Freddie Weeby about it, and they said, Tony Barnhart, my good friend, Mr. College Football, is doing one more tour, and he's going to have a stop in Gainesville. We've got to find a place to put something together somewhere. He wants to. He said, we'll get it done. So,
well, I'll tell you this weekend we had the Bobby Dodd Memorial Golf Tournament, and we had a dinner on Sunday night, and Steve and Jerry Spurrier were there, and I shared the news with them. And I think Jerry and my wife Maria are already throwing some stuff into motion. So
I'm sure they are.
Check with them before you do anything.
No doubt about it. But Freddie's the man who runs the joint, and he was delighted, and he's on it. So between Jerry and Maria and Freddie, I'm sure it'll be a great event, and I'm happy. I would like to talk you out of it if I possibly can, because we need your voice around here. But don't think because you're stepping aside, you're not going to be called upon to be on this program. Okay.
Well, I told somebody the other day, buddy, that I want to do. I still want to do speeches. I've already talked to Rob. I've already talked to my friends in Memphis.
Good.
And we'll have a lot of fun when I'm there later on this year. Yep. But I still like to do the speeches, any radio, anything like that, and appearances like this. I always enjoy catching up with everybody. It's just what I am saying goodbye to is the daily grind, and we all know what that means.
Yeah.
And this is a chance. Oh, and by the way, Mrs. Barnhart's already got 2 trips, not 1, but 2 trips planned. We're going on a Disney cruise with the grandchildren next March, and then 2027 will be number 50 for me and Mrs. Barnhart, and we're going on a cruise at one of those great rivers. I think it's going to be the Rhine, but we'll see. But she's already got me scheduled for those 2 trips now.
Yeah, my stepson, the sheriff here in town, just got back yesterday from the river cruise over in England. He said it was fantastic, the Viking tour. Yeah. So, listen, I'm going to back out of here. I saw you were here. I wanted to say hi. I got to run some errands and go to the doctor and whatever. But I just want to say, Tony, it's so great to see you again. I see that thing on your chest on the left there, some kind of map that you might have some affiliation with there. I'm sure that I won't be there, but you will. So all the best to you, Tony. I'll be talking to you soon, all right?
All right, buddy. Thank you, buddy.
Thanks.
Thank you, buddy. It is relationships. And you go beyond, I mean, the stories. Kevin Skarbinski was telling a story about 3 weeks ago on the show. He said, what I remember as a young writer was Charles Hollis helping me out. And he said one time he had to go cover Alabama at Tennessee and Knoxville. He goes, I was riding with, legendary sports writer. You remember Alf Van Hoos?
Of course.
He goes, I'm riding up there the whole way and back, and he smokes with the windows up. I'm like, But he said the stories and just the little idiosyncrasies of just everything, the guys like him and Jimmy Himes and Jimmy Bryan, just all these great writers. I'm with Buddy. We got to keep you. And I, like you say, the daily grind, you're going to be doing more big picture stuff, but it is relationships. And we got a few more minutes before, you go. But I keep asking about the coaches you've talked to. Kirby, is he having, and there's people that will say, college football, it's in a rough place, but we've been here before, Tony. I mean, think about your own personal life. Usually it's darkest before dawn.
Well, and again, we're gonna get there. We're gonna get there. We got too many. There's too much at stake, and so it's just not a lot of fun going through it. Oh, one thing I wanted to share. I don't know if you saw this, guys. When the NFL draft was over, the most interesting stat of the NFL draft to me was this: that at this point in time, Kirby Smart has more first-round draft choices, 21, than he does losses, 19.
Yeah.
I'm not good at math, but that sounds like a pretty significant stat.
Yeah. And you think about this too. Is he from Tifton, Georgia? Bainbridge. Yeah. Southwest Georgia used to put out tons of football players. We always had the debate. South Georgia, Metro Atlanta, who's the best? I mean, here's the question. Shoney, one of our listeners, went to school with me, lives in Titletown, Valdosta. I said, I can't think of another high school that produced a run of college quarterbacks like John Bond, as Jack Crystal would say, maroon and white. There's movement of the aisles here in Scott Field in Starkville, Mississippi. John Buck Ballou, John Lastinger. And by the way, they all played on Shoney's softball team there in Valdosta. A pretty good team.
No, not bad. That was an incredible time for the folks of Valdosta and high school football and that part. I mean, they take it very, very seriously in South Georgia.
Yeah. Well, I just love it. And Tony, your book is such a great read for people to understand. I think it connects all the dots why we love college football in the South the way we do. It's so important, but it also pulls us together. The only thing that might come close is Elvis singing "How Great Thou Art" or some great barbecue. I mean, it's just hard.
Just as in the book that you just showed, my high school, we didn't know if integration was going to work. This was the first year of integration, the fall of 1970. We didn't know if it was going to work. There were people who didn't want it to work very much. They wanted the chaos of it. But that high school football team that we put together that year, first time black and white kids had played together, it unified the county. We were winning. We lost our first 2 and then won 7 out of our last 8 to make the playoffs. And so that has brought together. And, a couple of Decembers ago, we had a book signing in Greene County, Georgia, and the town turned out. And so college football is an incredibly unifying experience.
It really is. Tony, let people know how they can follow you and keep up with everything you're doing, because I second Buddy's emotion. The daily grind you'll be moving on from, but you're still going to be out there and a voice, which we've got to have for college football. And thank you for everything you do.
Absolutely. Well, we use social media. I mean, the best way to keep in touch is through Mr. CFB on Twitter. I still call it Twitter, and social media. I do a lot on Facebook. Also, the stuff that I write is now on the FWA, the Football Writers Association of America, on their website. They were kind enough to help us out there, and I'm working on some things right now for distribution during this time, but hope to have something to respond to pretty quickly.
And we're looking forward to getting you on after you go to Destin to get your, takeaways from what all goes down there. Thank you so much, Tony. Have a great day.
We'll be stalking you to start a podcast with us, and join us over here with the good guys. That's the good guys. So.
The all good right, guys.
Thanks, buddy. Talk to you soon.
You bet. Take care.
Thank you. All right, let's do this. Let's say something real quick about Winter Timber. Great folks.
we got a green room loaded up too. So
that's right. We're going to go in here let me be quick. Winter Timber folks, Rete Masimara, GPS, BOGO, buy one, get one free. Take a picture of that QR code. They're in Athens, Alabama, open every day of the week. They're building stores all over the Southeast. They've got one 13,000 square foot store under construction on University Drive in Auburn, Alabama, in Lee County. It's going to open up later this summer, late July, August 1st, maybe earlier, depends on the weather. But they got everything you need for the outdoor life, gear for every shooting sport there is, from dove season through turkey season, fishing, coolers, gear, and let them know you heard about them on Sidelines. And they've got the incredible St. Nick's knives. Proud to be associated with them. And also proud to be associated with two great guys from Tampa, Florida, Vince Ferrara, go Bulls, go Bears, and Dudley Dawson from Balch, which is near Newport, kind of close to Grubbs and Blue Jays. Guys, that was a fun talk with Tony Barnhart. And, how do you top that off? You bring in the two of y'all talking college football. Dudley, the backyard looks great. What do you use? How often do you have to cut that grass?
Just once a week.
That's great.
It's a chore, but it's an enjoyable chore. Listen to a lot of yacht rock radio out there.
Yacht rock radio. I'm sure the bass fishing out there, some stripers, is pretty damn good too. All right, we're going to start with baseball real quick, because both of y'all covered hot baseball teams. And go with you, Dudley. What a weekend. I mean, to say that Arkansas and Texas is a rivalry is an understatement. I think we'd forgotten how much those schools don't like each other. And they have so much pride at Arkansas. 3 million people versus 30 million people, and you won the series. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, as you know, it's more of a rivalry for Arkansas. It kind of looked that way this weekend, the way the two teams played. But it was a big series for Arkansas. They'd lost 6 of 9 conference games coming in, skidding a little bit, and certainly that righted the ship. It gave the fans a lot of pride and a lot of. They were sassy this weekend. They enjoyed talking to the Texas players, who enjoyed talking back, it looked like, but. That was fun, and that's one of the the good things about the new configured SEC is that you have the opportunity to play some of these old Southwest Conference teams that you used to be around.
Yeah, and it's really exciting. And we were talking softball last night with the voice of Florida Gator softball. And, you look at Oklahoma, they went 17-7. They didn't go 24-0. Texas, 16-8. A little bit tougher in the SEC. Oklahoma still won the league, but Florida took the series from them, at the end of the last weekend. So that was big. Vince, Tony Vitello, Tennessee Vols. What's going on with this team at this point now compared to this time last year?
Yeah, and they were on a very similar path to Arkansas there that Dudley was witness to and knew. Tennessee had lost 3 of 4 series before they took on Auburn, and then lost again in a home series, 2 games to 1. And Auburn was able to win on a game that started in a torrential downpour on Friday with Tennessee's ace Liam Doyle on the mound. He gave up 2 runs in the first, and before they got to start the bottom of the first, they stopped the game with rain, and then they were never able to complete it. So guess what happened? Auburn never brought out their starter, who ended up been doing great, and Tennessee had to burn Liam Doyle, who's as good as there is in college baseball, because they weren't able to complete it until Saturday. So Auburn ended up winning game 1. Tennessee bounced back and won in extra innings in game 2, 5-4 in 11 innings, and then Auburn was on Sunday was the better team, and they won 8-1 in game 3. So Tennessee now has lost 3 consecutive home series. Tony Vitello hadn't lost 2 consecutive home series in his time at Tennessee, much less 3. And overall, they've lost 4 of their last 5 series in SEC play. So it's not like they are, doing everything horribly. They're just not doing it to the standard that we've seen Tennessee baseball at. And then just slowly kind of dropping back. I mean, they were number 1 team in the country at one point. Yeah. And they just can slowly dropping back in the polls anywhere from like 8 to 15.
Well, their bats are so hot. Hey, Dudley, question for you. Blind Squirrel Sports. I'm not sure where Blind Squirrel Sports lives. I'm going to say he lives in Buena Vista, Georgia. But Dudley, what are your thoughts on the defensive prowess of Victor Scott III in center field for your St. Louis Cardinals and Anheuser-Busch in St. Louis?
Well, for the proud St. Louis Cardinals, who can get to 500 today after starting 5-12, Victor Scott's played an important role. He has been certainly defensive-wise, he's even better than he was last year when he came up, and that's a good thing. But he's hitting too; he's got some power, so I'm pretty happy with him right now. And this so-called reimagining of the Cardinals has been good this last week when they've won. Try to win 5 in a row, get 500 today.
Yeah, Dudley, both of y'all's programs are elite programs, and you expect to be in Omaha. You make reservations, and that's the confidence. If Vince was going fishing for Moby Dick, he'd stop and get extra tartar sauce because he knows he's going to get him. All right, Dave Van Horn, been there 21, 22 years. Like, as a fan, I would rather be in the mix every year than have to, live 5, 6, 8 years between really good seasons. What are Arkansas fans wanting this year? Because they pack in every game. Baum Stadium, their support is off the charts. It's one of the best 3 or 4 attendance programs in America.
The only thing that Arkansas has not achieved during the Dave Van Horn tenure is a national championship. And, obviously they came close, 2018, the drop. It wasn't really the drop foul ball. It just didn't get caught. We got the glove on it. That's the main thing. They come here every year with, optimism. And they were one of the many teams that has been number 1 here over the past month and a half. Then started to slide, and people were getting a little worried, and now they're all fired up after this Texas thing. But that's it. I mean, he's accomplished everything else in college baseball that you can, except for winning the national championship. And I think he's a grandfather of triplets now, and he really enjoys being around them.
Wow.
Before he retires, I know he wants to get that one national championship, and he has a team that can do that this year. It's just got to have consistent pitching, and now they've got, I think, 2 really good starters, and that third day is what they're trying to get to worked on and get it to a point to where it can be consistent each weekend.
I love that take. Vince, question from Floyd R. Turbo American in Olathe, Kansas. Please discuss why Tennessee baseball did not play the national anthem Sunday. Is that the case every game, or was this an anomaly? It was a point of inspiration for the Auburn team. I didn't know they didn't, but I will say this. I've been to Knoxville many times. Those are some of those patriotic people on the planet. And I was getting texts from a friend of mine and his son who were at the stadium. By the way, what a view. Same thing it is when you've got mountains as a backdrop at your baseball stadium, Vince, you got one of the best jobs on the planet broadcasting Tennessee baseball.
Yeah, they do play the national anthem before all the games. So that I was not calling that game, so I don't know. It was a 7-inning game, and so maybe that shortened the schedule, or I don't know why, but they typically every game I called it last night. Every Tennessee game I've called it. I had the national anthem, so I don't know why that was the case on Sunday, honestly.
I would guess if they're playing 2 back-to-back, they played it in the first one and not the second one. I mean, that's all I could think of.
Yeah, that's usually the case at many of these venues. So games a day, you do it at the first, because then you play ball and you move on.
Yeah. Vince, for Tennessee right now, let's switch to football. Talk about the quarterback room right now. Mm-hmm. You know that Tennessee program inside out, and I've been watching your work, and people treat yourself, man. You and Jimmy Himes and Josh Ward, when y'all are those post game wrap ups of Tennessee, that's better than most of the network guys, man. I'm just saying.
Well, I appreciate that. Checks in the mail.
I mean that. Okay.
No, I know. I that means a lot, but. It's not deep. There's still just 3 guys in there. And true freshman George McIntyre played in Nashville, Brentwood Academy, and Jake Merklinger from Savannah, redshirt freshman, was around the program since they played since the bowl practices the year before when they were in Miami, I think it was. In the Orange Bowl. So he's been around the max he can over 2 years. And, he looked like the front runner out of those 2 just from a year of extra experience. And, both of them have good size, little bit still on the slender side, but ability to run, but still generally pocket quarterbacks. And then you add Joey Aguilar to the mix. I saw On3 had the top impact players in the transfer portal around the country, and they had Nico at UCLA 1 and Joey Aguilar at Tennessee 2. So that would fit that storyline of the QB trade that we saw that we hadn't seen before. So, Josh Heupel for the first time recently, they had a big orange caravan and they go around different spots in the state, and all those guys, Heupel and Barnes and Kim Caldwell and Danny White, all talked to the media, and Josh Heupel several times was talking about Aguilar and said, look, we like the way he throws the intermediate balls, intermediate to short throws. He's on time. He's accurate. He said he has some running ability as well. Good arm. So, he's ready to compete and jump in there and see what happens. So it's so early. It's hard to say what he's digested in terms of the playbook, but if he's motivated with his talent and experience, he should win the job. What does he do with the system, with his opportunities? Will Tennessee force feed him in there that maybe if he's a little bit behind in some things because of his experience and arm talent, will they still go with him? Or will they have it be a true competition we'll see. My guess is it is Aguilar's job to lose, but I do think it is a competition that if Aguilar doesn't really show his ability to be the leader, the alpha, that it could be Merklinger likely as the next up.
You see the parallels between golf and football. I mean, you got a great long game, but your putting game, your short and Joe Milton III out of Pahokee, Florida, from the muck. Some of the toughest people per capita in the planet come from there. He was great on the long balls. It's the short and intermediate passes. That what you just said about Joey Aguilar, man, that right there tells me, because a lot of the stuff that you throw is the short and intermediate. It's like it's a de facto running game when you throw a 5-yard little pass across the line of scrimmage. That's a promising sign for him.
Yeah, and I would say this, Joe Milton, similar to Nico, their numbers were very similar. He would throw the ball deep. A lot of times that would be his answer when things would break down. He would throw it deep, not the accuracy that they needed enough. Not like Hendon Hooker. Hendon Hooker would hit on twice as many of the deep shots as Milton and Nico. So he had the arm big time. You hit on a few of those and it opens things up in the middle for you more, but he just wasn't able to do that. Nico certainly struggled in that area also. Another thing that Nico did that I think Aguilar might be able to give him more ability is I think Nico was a little gun shy at times. He didn't want to turn the ball over, was a little risk averse. Aguilar doesn't have that. Tom Luganbill told me on the show, hey, man, he is a riverboat gambler, man. Now they're going to have to dial that back some, but, hey, short memory and take some calculated risk with his arm strength. Can he be better than Nico beyond the first read? Because sometimes you have a one read and go, but sometimes it's not there, and you have to make a play. Can he do that? And then the short to intermediate, as you guys know, if you're accurate and on time with those, it gives your receivers time for run after catch, and Tennessee didn't have enough of that last year either to make a play.
Dudley, year 2 for Taylor Green under Bobby Petrino. If anybody knows Bobby Petrino's history, they look at quarterbacks a second year in his system, and you know that.
Yeah, I think they're excited about Taylor and the continuity of having a quarterback and an offensive coordinator, no matter what level of football you play, is always important. I think they feel real good about him and what he's going to be able to do in this next season. And, it's interesting. Y'all talk about Joe Milton. Joe Milton is now the second team quarterback for the Dallas Cowboys. And he's going to apparently be throwing to George Pickens.
How about that?
They got the parade that's supporting the building and the all SEC team.
From Hoover High School next to Birmingham.
Yeah. So it's interesting, but yeah, they're excited about Taylor. You obviously saw the big play capability last year that he had. They want him to be a little bit more consistency and everything else. And I know that he's been getting drilled all year by the quarterback whisperer, and I think they feel good. That's not a room that they worry about, even though they had one transfer out.
Yeah, that. By the way, you mentioned last week Tom Mars, well-known attorney in Little Rock, is on that case. Any updates there? If the Iamaleavas, when they got the letter, may have said uncle?
Not yet.
No uncle?
I think it's probably pretty good to, publicity to come out and say you're going to try to get that money. And then once you say that, to really be quiet after you get it going. And Mr. Mars, who is obviously a tremendous attorney and has done a lot of things over the years that have helped the sport, I believe. He does not, how do I want to put this? He only puts out statements when he needs to, not, he's not a social media butterfly, which is you don't want in your lawyer.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
I will say, Rob, real quick, just an update on Tennessee portion of that, because we get asked all the time, is Tennessee going to go after the Iamaleavas for what they did? Because obviously Tennessee fans are sour about it as well. And Danny White was asked about it on the Caravan. Hey, what what do you think about, Arkansas pursuing it? Is that something Tennessee is going to do? Danny White didn't really answer it, just kind of said, well, we're monitoring it and talking about how, it's going in that direction where there will need to be sort of some accountability on the other end. But that could very well mean, hey, when we get some sort of structure on this thing and when we make contracts in the future, we make sure we have that kind of language in there to where it's on the front end. If in the future, it didn't necessarily, I didn't take it as, yeah, we might do it. I kind of took it as, hey, look, eventually these things are going to stop and we're going to be in a better position to do it, but not really any specific words on Tennessee. Definitely they are or they are not pursuing money also, because right now it's been quiet on that end.
I think it's best in this situation to handle it as either Ben Matlock or Perry Mason and not one of those guys on suits.
Yeah, right. That's right. No, stay away from the cameras. All right, we'll start bouncing around questions on this upcoming college football season. Vince, we'll go back to you with Aguilar. He's coming UCLA, Appalachian State. How long was he at App State? 2 years?
2 year starter, yeah.
Yeah. And Boone, they're serious. I mean, I was driving from Knoxville to Charlotte last year about this time, back in February a year ago. You're on I-40 around Hickory. You see the signs, Boone up there in the mountains.
It's beautiful.
That is, man, yeah. I've been to a few winter formals up there skiing. Don't remember them as much, but they were fun. But that I'm intrigued by this, the short and intermediate passes. Tell me this. A lot of Tennessee fans watch this show and they're asking me this. You don't have Dylan Sampson as that, insurance policy to hand the ball off to. What's the running back room look like for Tennessee? And you lose Cooper Mays, 4-year starter, the quarterback of your offensive line. Who's looking to be the leader in the clubhouse for that position?
Well, Rob, you kind of hit on a big portion of this that maybe doesn't get talked about enough is what's around whoever is going to be the quarterback.
Yeah.
Had Aguilar been coming in and you had a whole bunch of experience and known commodities around him, then you would feel like, all right, this guy has no excuse to not exceed because of everything that he can succeed with around him. But there's questions at wide receiver, there's questions at running back, there's questions on the offensive line. Really, the closest thing to a known position group is the tight end room, because you have Miles Kitzelman back, who was outstanding last year, basically was one of their 2 starting tight ends and is one of the better tight ends, I think, in the SEC. Plus, they have another experienced guy, Ethan Davis, and 2 really good freshmen in the class, too, that might be able to contribute. So that room, you feel the best about. Other than that, I mean, they had 6 wide receivers in the spring. That's it. And so you add a 7th as a summer enroll. Boo Carter, who's been their starting star DB, he practiced some at wide receiver. So he's one of those guys that, when you're asking about the short to intermediate throws, if Aguilar is accurate there, if he's the guy, Boo Carter is one that could take it to the house at any point. I mean, quick twitch, lightning fast, played in Chattanooga area at Bradley Central. So it's a room that needs to show what it can do. Really, only one experienced receiver in Chris Brazel, the former Tulane guy. So you asked about the running back room. Peyton Lewis, the most experienced returning running back. He was RB2 basically last year, 2 or 3, depending on when he came back from injury. And then after that, Deshaun Bishop is another one who is a former walk-on that's been awarded a scholarship because he's played really well, averaged about 6 yards per carry. A kid from Carnes, one of the best high school running backs, greatest seasons a couple of years ago. I called a number of his games in high school here in the area. And then you have Star Thomas transferring, experienced, bigger guy, transferred over from Duke. And then you have a couple of other freshmen in DeJuan Morris and Justin Baker. So that's the running back room. It's a little more up in the air. But you know what? Going into last year, nobody expected Dylan Sampson to be Dylan Sampson. So, maybe there's not a season like that, but maybe there's more than what people expect in one or two of those running backs. And, replacing 4 guys on the offensive line, 4 new starters on that offensive line with a couple of transfers. So a lot of new around whoever the new QB will be.
Same question, Dudley, for the Arkansas Razorbacks.
Well, the biggest thing that I've seen is they get 31 guys from the portal between the first thing and the second. And I second, I kind of is divided into different periods. Every time there's a 10-day deal that, that seems to pop up. But 31 different guys. They added some wide receivers, 4, I think, since this last portal. In a similar situation when you lose Andrew Armstrong and Isaac Tesla. Yeah. Tesla, who was, fourth round NFL draft choice. Him and Landon Jackson been the 2 that, were drafted here from Arkansas. Both went to good spots. Landon Jackson to Buffalo Bills and Tesla to the Detroit Lions, 2 young teams that seem to be doing things right. It's going to be, I guess he's going to have like 10 wide receivers that are going to be out there, but half of them he will not have thrown to from either last year or in spring football practice because it's come and gone. So I don't know what they're going to be like. It'd be easy for me to pontificate and say, this is what's going to happen. But these days with so many people in the transfer portal playing key positions, and that when Arkansas went to the second portal period, they had done it after spring football practice, said, we got to have something there. We need more there. And they certainly have gotten it done. The different rankings and stuff, they're never going to be, it doesn't seem like, at the top half of this thing. And so you're fighting uphill all the time. You better hit on some hidden gems, as they say.
Yeah, you said 31 in the portal. Vince, what's the total on Tennessee in the portal for both? And again, I guess it can change after graduation this week.
Yeah, very small in the spring. Dudley, your numbers are winter and spring combined?
Yeah.
Yeah. I believe Tennessee in the spring, their number is 3 in, 6 out. So on the smaller side. In the winter, I believe it was 13. I'd have to go back and check. I think it was like 13, something like that. Exit 13 to 15. Excuse me. And that's a bigger number for Tennessee, who typically is on the low end of outgoing and incoming, and only a handful coming in. I think it was only 4 coming in. So 4 in, like 13 to 15 out, and then, the 3 to 6 here in the spring. So not big numbers. And that really has frustrated some fans. I mean, fans have been kind of outspoken that they haven't been in contention for some of the highest ranked guys in the portal. And they're just, bringing in just a handful of guys. Now they are selective in the guys they bring in. I think Tennessee is cognizant of not sort of rocking the boat with their own guys if you overpay to bring a guy in. Plus, I think in college football, and definitely seemingly at Tennessee, there's been a little bit more of the dollars, those NIL dollars, towards keeping your guys. There was a number of guys, Boo Carter, Mike Matthews, Ricky Gibson, that, stories were out that they were headed to the portal. And then you got to use some of your budget to keep those guys and keep them happy. And then it doesn't maybe leave you as much to go overspend, especially in the spring, to bring guys in. So, if you get the best guys, and like Dudley was talking about, you get one of those, hidden gems, and you connect on a greater percentage, then it can work out for you.
Yeah.
If you don't find the difference makers because you had to overpay, you had to pay a lot to keep your guys, then you're gonna have some holes during the season.
Yeah, one of the strange things about Arkansas's class, they had to get some of their guys back out of the portal, renegotiate. Right. After they had leaped into the portal, Braylon Russell, the running back, leaped in and out, and they said you're either in or out. I think he's a great kid, and he's going to be a really good running back. But that Sam Pittman made a significant point when he was saying we have to use the majority of our money or a lot of our money to keep the guys that we want, to keep them from going to other places. And, yes, the component of bringing in other guys is big, as we know from what I said, 31. But there, when you look back on it, it was a crazy December. And people that were in the portal played in the bowl. People that played in the bowl then leaped into the portal.
Yeah.
Including one of the kids that the second kid that they're trying to get the money back from, in Desmond James. They were joking that it was 93-yard touchdown catch he had, and he ran all the way to Ole Miss, but he didn't. He went to California. So,
you know what the portal reminds me of? Remember when we were kids, we'd get mad at our parents and say, "I'm running away from home," and we'd put our stuff on a stick and a little pouch, and start walking down the driveway. And your mother would say, "Hey, I'm cooking your favorite thing for dinner." Oh, okay. That's kind of what's going on. All right. Before we wrap it up here, let me do this. Both of y'all, Hogville.net and the Sports Animal in Knoxville, putting out a ton of content. Each of you, just try to do it in like 30 seconds. What do people at Arkansas fans need to be paying attention to that you're going to be writing about, and it's going to make a difference?
I'll go. The Arkansas softball, #1 in the country in one of the polls, Softball America. It's the highest they've ever been. They look set up to get one of the 8 national seeds. And I think that the maybe 6 of the 8 national seeds are going to be from the SEC. It's like every other thing in this conference.
Real quick, Blind Squirrel Sports wants to know, what's the number of wins Big Sam needs to win, or maybe he just decides Lake Hamilton's a lot nicer.
You know what? They're going to have their road show this week, and I'll be around 100-yard check a lot, so I'll have the opportunity to have a better thing about that. But here's what I'd say: it better be enough.
Yeah, I got you.
If I goes down, it better be enough.
I got you, Vince. Same thing.
Yeah. Real quick, I'll answer Blind Squirrel Sports 2 questions. Did Tony Vitello have reason to be upset at the umpires like he did in getting ejected? Absolutely. That was a calculated and a weekend-long frustration. Also, do the Vols take a step back with all their attrition? I would say yes right now because of the unknown of the quarterback position.
Wow. Okay.
And then what people are talking about is still the portal, not only for Tennessee additions, but for basketball additions as well. As Rick Barnes has only 1 spot left, really done a nice job of rebuilding his roster, very balanced in what they've had. And then you can follow me on all the socials, Vince Sports, VINCE Sports, website 991thesportsanimal.com.
Hey, thank you both more than you'll ever know. Look forward to doing this again next week. Always love having you on here.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
You bet. All right, let me say something real quick about Landers Ford today and every day except Sunday, 7 a.m., 7 p.m. Get out there. Huge inventory. Poplar and Houston Levy, where Memphis and Collierville meet. They've got a lot to offer. And remember, you hear a lot about tariffs. They're going to work with you. They are in business of getting you in the vehicles, cars, trucks, and SUVs. The 25 expeditions are in. Service department will pick you up, take you in there, take you home, take you to your office, whatever. Ask for Brad Bellamy, the general manager. He will take care of you. And they are right down the street from Hewlett and Dunn Boot and Clothing Company on the historic square in Collierville, Tennessee. Hey, they got great looking boots. Let's focus today. The men's and women's boots, over 7,000 pairs. I got Brenden a pair of Feral Sal Wild Hog boots on the way. Wild Boar is what we call them. Great looking boots. And they've got Filson, Barber, Duckhead, STS, Pendleton, Schaefer. Still got a little bit of stuff left on the 50 and 75% off rack. Charles Hall, Raven Carpenter, J.M. Huffman, the people out there. You will love this store. It is a family business, been around since 1961. Hey, I love it. Thanks all y'all for watching. Most often we see the face of Christ in the least among us. Mother Teresa said it best. We can't do everything, but we can all do something. And watch this channel, man, all day. There's content. Scarbo Knows, Duke Scoops, Buddy Martin Show, Lowdown with Lauren Meadows, Buddy Martin Show, this show. You want to cover all that. Thanks, everybody, for watching. Share it with